There are new polls out showing Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump deadlocked nationally. But the vice president now, it seems, has an edge in what is arguably the most closely watched Battleground state. Polling from the New York Times, Philly Inquirer, and Siena College released today indicate Harris and Trump have each won the support of 47% of all likely voters. But in Pennsylvania, my home state, the Democratic presidential nominee leading her Republican rival by 4 points. Kadia Goba and Gómez join us now. Kadia is a politics reporter for Semafor. Finn is our CBS News political director. Great to have you both here. I want to begin with you, Kadia. You just sat down with former Speaker Nancy Pelosi for a Semafor event yesterday here in Washington, D.C. I'm sure, like most times, you have a conversation with the former Speaker. I'm sure it was a low-key, very muted affair.
No news.
I'm sure she had some sharp comments about the race. I mean, many Democrats tell me, and she would deny it, that she's effectively one of the key leaders of the Democratic Party, even though she's out of power. She has political capital. What did she have to say about where things stand?
Well, she just, doubled down and reiterated the talking points of Democrats.
And what was your real read on it?
That she wants them to win. I thought it was shocking that she said she thought the Senate is going to remain, stay with Democrats, which is like not what most people aren't saying. So she kind of pushed back against that. That was interesting. She said, asked her about whether she was convinced by Kamala Harris, all this attention towards Kamala Harris, and did that change her mind about the open primary she had initially suggested? And she kind of said, well, there was an open primary. Right.
Did she talk about who she would have backed if there was an open primary post-Biden exit?
No, she kind of just said, she's a astute candidate. She talked about Kamala Harris being an astute candidate, and she's there for a reason because, some people backed out, and she just kind of went on and said that she had earned the position as the Democratic nominee.
She's known Vice President Harris for years. I mean, the San Francisco Democrats have a huge influence on this party.
Yeah, well, I asked her how tight they were. I asked her if she would say she had, if she would call her close, and she kind of pivoted to the audience. Well, I'm about as close as I am to all of you. So I don't know what that says about their relationship.
Did she have anything to say about President Biden? Because President Biden, when I sat down with him earlier in the summer, he mentioned her name. I didn't mention her name, but he mentioned her name. And as one of the Democrats who raised concerns, did she talk about him at all?
No, she didn't. A lot of her focus was on Mitch McConnell, who she is, wholeheartedly blaming for January 6th not going the way, or the impeachment process not going the way it should have, or the way she would have liked to. And she kind of said she felt sorry for him, but that's the only senator she really talked in large about.
It's interesting to begin this conversation talking about your conversation with Speaker Pelosi, because she is someone who has such power within the Democratic Party. Even though she's not the speaker anymore, she influences almost everything, donors, Congress. And she's pretty curt sometimes when it comes to talking about Vice President Harris. Vice President Harris and her allies are very happy about these poll numbers we just discussed.
Right.
But to build on Kadia's reporting and conversation with Speaker Pelosi, Finn, what are you hearing candidly from Democrats about how they actually assess this race beyond the polls that we see? She's up incrementally in some of these battlegrounds. So how do they believe she's doing post-debate? Is this a campaign in the eyes of top Democrats you talk to all the time that's truly ascendant, or is this race still very narrow?
Bob, I would say there are two key words that I look to, I think, especially at this point in the race when we are 47 days out from Election Day, and that is data and vibes, right? And right now, the vibe that I'm getting from those close to the Harris campaign and those in the Harris campaign, I would say, is there's no sense of overconfidence here. They know how hard it is where they are, where they're positioned right now at this point in the race with what they're looking at. And they're looking at some tough races in those 7 key battleground states, including the Keystone State, as we saw, but also North Carolina, Georgia. There's just such crucial races, so crucial to both their campaign and also the Trump campaign strategy, the 270, that Sunbelt strategy. I would also say there is a sense there's a sense we're in football season. There's a sense of prevent defense, right? They don't want to get scored on. No unnecessary mistakes. They want to continue getting those incremental gains, 5 runs to the first down, but they are playing it safe.
And Jonathan Martin had a fascinating article in Politico where he talked about how if Vice President Harris doesn't win Pennsylvania, she effectively has to win either North Carolina or Georgia.
Right.
She has to expand the map. Is that how they see it inside the Harris campaign?
Yes, and they know the significance of it. I mean, that's why she's going back tomorrow to Georgia. They see an opportunity on abortion rights to gain some, to make some political gains there. They know that's a big issue for them to amplify their vote. They are seeing also, and we've talked about it on the show, you talked about it on the show with Tom Bonnier, that we've seen an increase in registration among young women of color in these crucial states, in Georgia, in Pennsylvania. And look, we all know they all know the warnings of the 2016 cycle also. Right? There was one poll around this time. ABC had a poll that showed Hillary up 12 points, and we all know how that resulted. So they're not taking anything for granted.
There's a possible government shutdown on the horizon. Semafor has been doing a lot of coverage of that. Does it have a political impact at all, or is it just more of a Washington story based on your conversations with lawmakers?
I think it's a Washington story, to be honest with you. If you think Republicans are going to shut the government down during a presidential election,
I don't rule anything out, Kadia.
I just don't think it's going to happen. Yes, I was surprised that Speaker Johnson put the SAVE Act, or it's an election bill, on the floor again, but it just doesn't make sense that they would want to shut the government down during a period like this. I think he's going to be able to lean on Democrats like he has in the past to get it across the line. Speaker Johnson and the moderate Republicans who know they will lose their race if there's a shutdown.
Yet we've heard from both former President Trump and Senator Vance essentially saying that they should leverage that potential with Democrats on the Hill. The SAVE Act, by the way, I mean that's a premise that is purely political, and they know that. There's a strategic element there they know because the data doesn't support the premise.
And we're continuing to cover this North Carolina story. Mark Robinson. We talked to a reporter from North Carolina. We talked to our reporters earlier about this unfolding story. Mark Robinson, he hasn't had an easy race so far. He's being defiant. Do you expect the Trump campaign and the former president to stand by him?
I don't think they're going to say anything about this, to be honest with you.
What do you mean? Just be muted? Just
I think they're
silent?
going to be muted about it.
That's a statement in and of itself.
That it is, just like the Teamsters not backing Harris right now.
They're going to pull a Teamsters move, no endorsement, no denial.
I don't think they're going to say anything about it. And I mean, right now he's not leading. He's in a losing position anyway. This does not. I mean, why would you comment on something like that?
Well, Trump's supposedly going to be going to North Carolina sometime in the coming weeks.
On Saturday in Wilmington, North Carolina. It'd be interesting. I don't think we're going to see Robinson there. I did talk to a source close to the campaign who tells me there's some reporting out there that the Trump campaign, they've been the force behind pushing him off the ballot. They insist it's, the source close to the campaign says they do not believe it's not the campaign, that there's any push. It's coming from
it would have to happen
RGA,
soon,
but it's
based
coming
on
from
that
the RGA. By tonight, by midnight tonight.
Who would it be if the Trump campaign or the top Republicans had a candidate to jump in? Who would it be?
For many Republicans that I spoke to today after this news unfolded, anyone. Any other Republican. If you have an R behind your name, that's who they want.
It's like when you look in the phone book and pick out anybody?
Hey, they might have better chances right now with 47 days out than the current candidate.
But Robinson, he's a lot like a lot of candidates who face scrutiny about their personal conduct. Fight, fight, fight.
Except North Carolina is in play right now, and there's a very big opportunity for Trump to wash. This could be a wash for him if he lets. If this gets out of hand. Both candidates are like playing for North Carolina, so I don't think that they will put anything up for chance.
We'll see what happens. Gómez, Kadia Goba, thank you for stopping by. We really appreciate it.